Hello and welcome to my review for Mary and the Witch's Flower, a film I am so excited to be talking about, and I'm still kind of buzzing over the fact that I got to see it in the cinema this week. I never would have expected this would come out in a Cineworld, a chain cinema. I thought that when this did eventually hit the UK that it would be in the smaller art house theatres and things like that, but I was looking through Cineworld and it's like, Mary and the Witch's Flower, holy shit. Not only in the dubbed English version, but the original Japanese language version, which is always the one that I want to go to and see in its original format, at least first. I really don't like dubs all that much, and you know, there's some Studio Ghibli films that have really good ones, but for the most part I want to go with the original language and original intention, I guess, the original feeling. I really prefer that. Anyway, this is a film that I've been looking forward to ever since I heard it announced, I think a year or two ago, and this is the first film from Studio Ponok, which is an offshoot of Studio Ghibli. A lot of the people who were working in Studio Ghibli came over to start this studio because Ghibli kind of temporarily, maybe permanently shut down about 4 years ago. And so this film is the debut feature from Studio Ponok and is directed by Hiromasa Yonebayashi, who did Arrietty and When Marnie Was There, the last official Studio Ghibli feature film. But he also, dating back 20 years, worked with Hayao Miyazaki on Princess Mononoke, you know, moving forward, probably Spirited Away. I know he worked on Howl's Moving Castle and Ponyo, so he has a lot of experience in this field. And When Marnie Was There, I thought was a wonderful film. Arrietty's a lot of fun. We talk about that in the 24-hour movie marathon 7 this year, so look forward to that. But this one is, you know, him breaking free from the Studio Ghibli family, but in a way kind of not. And I've seen actually a lot of criticism for this film, which I wasn't expecting, because I didn't look into any reviews, anything like that. I just was really looking forward to seeing the film. That's all. I just wanted to see it. It looked like a Studio Ghibli film. It felt like a natural continuation, and so I really wanted to see it. Saw it, spoilers, loved it, and then afterwards was reading a lot of people criticizing it, saying, yeah, it looks nice and everything, but it's so derivative of Hayao Miyazaki. It's so derivative of Studio Ghibli films, it doesn't feel like its own thing. It feels like, you know, the kind of little bits and elements taken from those films and just plunked into its own thing that has no real substance. I can see some of those criticisms, actually. I will say, a lot of it felt Miyazaki inspired. I want to say inspired because there's a film that Makoto Shinkai did called Journey to Agatha, the English version. And that to me felt Miyazaki light. It didn't feel like Shinkai's style. It felt like he was going for a Miyazaki style and message and theme, and it didn't quite work. Here, I feel like it's Miyazaki inspired because Yonebayashi has worked with Miyazaki for, you know, 20 plus years at this point, both as an animator and also as a collaborator. You know, Miyazaki, I think, wrote Arrietty, so, you know, Yonebayashi directed that film, so they worked together, or at least have, you know, they've worked on the same stuff. There's going to be a kind of holdover, there's going to be little tributes and homages here and there, but also just the style of storytelling is going to be very much informed by what you've done already, you know. And I think people look at it too much in the case of, you know, Miyazaki is the king, and he really is, but besides that, I don't think it's such a bad thing that it's so reminiscent of those films. Regardless, Mary and the Witch's Flower follows a young girl called Mary, who is very bored in the country. One summer, she's waiting to start school. Her parents haven't quite arrived yet. We don't establish why. She's staying with her great aunt Charlotte, and she goes out for picnics and things like that, but she's very bored. There's nothing to do. She comes across a black cat up near the woods, and the cat leads her through the woods, and she finds this mysterious blue flower, this glowing kind of fluorescent flower. And the gardener, where she's staying, says that it's the fly-by-night flower, or the witch's flower. And she finds out that the bulbs of this flower grant her magical powers for 12 hours. And she flies off on a broom, you know, to cut a long story short, and ends up in this kind of world in the clouds, where, you know, magic it runs wild, and she finds a school for witchcraft and wizardry, basically. And this is actually based on a book that was released in the 70s. And again, people unfavorably comparing this to Harry Potter, but, you know, a school for witches and wizards isn't exactly, you know, inventing the wheel. It's an idea that was done to perfection in the Harry Potter series, but I didn't have a problem with it in this because it isn't really the focus. It's part of the dressing of the main kind of crux of the plot, which is her, you know, coming to this school, Endor College, which I kind of like those called Endor College, and you know, she has the, you know, the witch's flower, so she seems very powerful, and so the people who run the school are like, oh wow, she's great, we need to sign her up and kind of have her be our next kind of prodigy or whatever. But she soon realizes there's something quite amiss with this Endor college. Not everything is as it seems. The black cat goes along with her, and you can see the cat doesn't trust anyone, which is what I really liked. I love the way the cats were animated in the film. They really felt like they had the attitude of cats, and again, that there's been a lot of different versions of cats done in Studio Ghibli films, so it's going to feel like that, but I felt like they looked different, so I liked that it just felt like a newer way of animating a cat, but still felt like the true spirit of cats was there. They're very kind of haughty, and kind of, is haughty even a word? Full of themselves. You know, cats are very independent and snobby and all that kind of stuff. And that was portrayed very well just in the movements of the cat as well as the facial expressions. There's a boy called Peter who kind of gets dragged into the whole thing, and you know, Mary has to do some rescuing and kind of, you know, facing fears and going on a wild adventure. She's a very likable character, very plucky and over-enthusiastic and so on, almost to a fault. And it's a great wild ride. There's some incredible animation. Just the opening sequence, which you're not quite sure where it places in the rest of the story. It gets revealed near the end. I really like that reveal, but the opening sequence is stunning. The music, unbelievable. And this, I think, is where it actually stood out from the Ghibli kind of you know, canon, so to speak, where you usually have the Joe Hisaishi stuff, which has a very signature sound. The score here was really different. I can't even describe it. I'm not very musical, but I loved the different flavor the score had. It felt very fantasy informed. You know, it just transported me even further into the world. Again, some stunning animation, some really imaginative stuff, wild and crazy, weird, different things. And the story is, you know, I mean, it's very simple. It felt to me like an Enid Blyton book brought to life via Studio Ghibli, and I love the old Enid Blyton books. It's very simple. You know, a kid goes off on a magical adventure. Sometimes, you know, you don't always need to have a really deep meaning to a film. You don't need to have a really intricate plot. You know, it's about telling a story. I think kids will love this film. I really want to take my sister to go and see it. I just don't have the time, but I really want to show it to her to see what she thinks, because I think that kids, especially young girls, actually really like it. But even young boys, I mean, I really love the character of Mary, and you know, it's again very simple, but beautiful. You know, it really speaks to how fantastic hand-drawn animation can look. And I'm sure they've probably done it through computers and so on, but it's, you know, this isn't a Pixar movie. It's traditionally animated. Again, they might not be done on paper, but you know, it's the style that I love to see. I mean, I love the 3D Pixar stuff, but this stuff I think has more beauty to it at times, because you're literally looking at a painting. You know, the backdrops, the backgrounds, the moods, and everything like that. There is a kind of a moment where I was thinking, right, they're really not holding your hand as far as the plot is concerned, because you're learning all this stuff along with Mary. You're not quite sure what to make of all this magic and stuff, and there's no real explanation about certain key things. I'm thinking, when is the exposition coming? And it came like really towards like the final hour, and I like that. I like that it wasn't like, here's Mary, she goes off and she finds this magic. Okay, this is this, and then this is this, and this is this, and this is this. I mean, you get a little bit of that as far as like, oh, this is the school and this is the magic we learn, but as far as what's going on behind the story, you don't get that till like the third act. I really liked that. It didn't hold your hand as far as the plot was concerned, which is maybe why a father left with his son about halfway through the film when I watched it. But yeah, I loved it. I really did. You know, it doesn't have the extra oomph that a lot of Studio Ghibli films have. It doesn't have that extra final button to really make it like a classic or a masterpiece, or, you know, something truly special. So, you know, it kind of falls just short of greatness in that aspect, because it's just the nature of the beast, I think. But for what it was, I thought it was phenomenal, and I had such a good time with it. And it comes just outside my top 10 of the year so far. But it's really close. Like, it's yeah, fantastic. I was so happy with this film, and I really am itching to see it again, mainly for the score. That's the main thing I keep coming back to. But I mean, I could just listen to the score and watch the visuals and not even listen to the dialogue. I really loved the audio-visual experience of this film. But again, I just love simple kind of flights of fancy fantasy stories like the Enid Blyton books that I grew up with, and that's what this felt like. It really felt like one of those where it's simple, it's clear, it's cut and dry, but it has this kind of explosion of imagination and really just a free feeling. That's what it is. It's a free feeling of imaginative storytelling for kids, and I think in that aspect it really, really works. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you've seen the film, and leave your thoughts down below if you have, and I'll see you in the next one.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause